China, something's going to happen with China, and it did happen in August when they devalued their currency like 20%. So, and right now, the general understanding of China among the general population seemed quite superficial, and I believe that we could do something so that we could, encourage them to get to know China a little bit better beyond a superficial level.
I think Dean Ritter touched on this earlier when she gave her remarks. CAPS kind of led the way when it came back to consolidating really Asia-Pacific specific course of study. But a lot of universities followed suit, and there's kind of a growing population of would-be China scholars in the US. And CAPS, one of its founding principles was to create kind of a small, intimate, connected group of China scholars at the undergraduate level who would hopefully continue on to the graduate level. So I think networking between CAPS and China Studies programs stateside and our fellow undergrads who are also kind of engaged in the same kind of coursework would be a lot of fun.
Thanks. These are all very constructive. Thank you for all these suggestions. So now here's the Q&A session. Do we have any questions from the floor?
First of all, you guys did a really good job up there. When I was in CAPS, I never would have talked to this while on a panel. I guess I wanted to ask is, how, you guys are juniors and seniors, I take it. How is the demand looking from the freshmen and sophomores, and what do you guys do to try to drum up support? I remember when we were, we didn't have that many people in the major back then, so we were always trying to tell the younger kids to take CAPS and encouraging. Is that something you guys do? How do you see the demand down there, or do you not really know?
Well, for me, it's been difficult because I haven't been on campus to meet freshmen. I just spent all last year abroad, and so I haven't been around. But I've met people. The best way to do it is meet other Mandarin speakers and people with an interest in Mandarin, because once you have that, then it's easy. If you're already taking Mandarin or if you're already interested in the language, a lot of people look at, oh, I have to take 4 years of Mandarin. I'm not too keen on that. But if they're already into it, then that's kind of a segue into, if you considered studying Chinese politics and international relations. So.
Yeah, I really want to suggest underclassmen to become part of this great program. And about 2 weeks ago, CAPS just had a meeting for a prospective student, and I was there as a upperclassman trying to give them a perspective from an upperclassman about what kind of opportunities CAPS could provide. And I always tell my friends, as I said before, they're so interested in learning about China a little bit deeper, but they just can't find time. And that's a little bit, unfortunate that even with the interest, they just cannot become part of this great community.
The other thing that I really value about CAPS is that it's really kind of a small, intricate community. So there comes a point where I think having it be extremely large would be almost detrimental. Not to say it should be well supported and have interest, but my co-students, we're really tight knit. We really enjoy each other's company and hanging out. And I think if the major got extremely large, you would lose some of that intricate, tight knit.
I think a lot of kind of drumming up support for CAPS and interest in CAPS at the freshman and sophomore level has to do with figuring out where there's kind of cursory interest and just kind of being out and proud as a CAPS student and not being afraid to say hey, CAPS is really awesome. Don't worry if you've never studied Mandarin, because our Chinese language instructors are super cool and really good at what they do, and we'll make the process as painless as possible. Folks like Clara come to mind. I remember when Clara was a freshman, and she ran up to me in the halls one day and said, "Hey, Cole, you study CAPS, right?" And I was like, yeah, Clara, I do. And she was like, "Tell me all about it." And I think we walked, around campus for a little bit, talked about it, and she's here now, so hopefully I did my job right. But I think just speaking positively about the program and sharing your experiences as widely and frequently as possible really goes a long way toward helping convince people, hey, this is a worthwhile endeavor for all the time you have to spend on campus and all the time and energy you have to devote to, studying China and studying the Chinese language.
I would also have to say I think it's pretty great that us too. We all have this thing in common, which is CAPS, but we're also very diverse in our other student activities. And like for example, I am in the Big Red Marching Band, and if there aren't a lot of people on campus that know what CAPS is, they might think you're working for Gannett, which is the psychological But everybody in the marching band should know what China and Asia Pacific Studies is because they have met me. And I've told them it's the best major ever, and I think getting the word around about what CAPS is to a variety of different students, that also makes them talk about it. Because then when they say on tours, oh, we have a great select of different majors, like psychology and engineering, it's like, well, what about China and Asia Pacific Studies? Because that's the best major ever. I might have said that on a tour before, but and they talk about the squirrel watching club and all these weird things and cool specific things about Cornell, but nobody knows about CAPS. So I think like getting more people to talk about it, and then they can say, oh yeah, I know a friend in CAPS. A lot of people know Cole, by the way. But so yeah, I think getting the word out to a variety of different students and having them talk about it makes Cornell really unique, especially when people talk about it with other people.
Yeah, so I think this has been mentioned before, but the two things I sell about CAPS is that one, we get to spend a year abroad in DC and Beijing, and those two cities are like the most dynamic cities in the two most dynamic countries. So, the second thing I try to emphasize is that we have a very small and intricate community, and I feel like being in Cornell, which is such a huge community, one can feel very lost and not part of anything. But I think being in CAPS, we all make sure we know what all of us are doing over the summer. We always keep up with each other, and it's really nice. We're all very encouraging. It's a very good network to have, and I think that's really the best part of CAPS.
Other questions? We're taking two more.
Mentioned that there are students are international at Beijing. Are there American students also in those classes? And if so, are they engaged in any program that resembles CAPS?
So what immediately comes to mind is one of my best friends who I met at Beijing was a Georgia Tech student who was studying engineering at Peking University. And he was not in any of my classes, but we met through an organization I was part of at Peking University. And I asked him, what, does your school send anybody over to Peking University? Are you here with a program? And it was a resounding no. That they used to have a program, but they cut it for financial reasons or something. And now, if you want to study in China, it was a very harrowing process for me. I had to go through so many bureaucratic levels to just get funding to come to China. And I said, wow, that sounds really difficult. My school makes it so easy. I think I didn't meet a lot of American students. There was just a small number of students, and I got the feeling that it was because their school did not make it easy for students to come to China, which I'm extremely grateful to the CAPS program, to Cornell, just because it was easy as just signing up for the major, and now it's all worked out, and I can come to China, and I fear what it would be like without the CAPS program if I had wanted to actually study in China.
I have a question. Yeah, I know you travel in China quite, extensively, but did you cover like the smaller cities or even rural areas in China, and what your impressions are if you did?
So I took a personal trip. It was not a Cornell trip, but I took a weekend off and flew to Guilin and just traveled, rented a motorbike, and took 4 days to just travel out, and we didn't really know where we were going. We just go to random villages, and it was really kind of eye-opening. There were times when I was in the rural areas that I felt this isn't China. This feels more like Cambodia, or it feels like it doesn't feel. It was astounding to see. I was just in Beijing, where glass skyscrapers, 100 stories tall, and then you go here and there's no running water, there's no electricity. I was kind of floored by just how different it could be. But the human interaction was the best part of that. Just meeting local people and speaking with them about what they do, what their lives are. There's a lot of photos of me with just random shop owners and farmers. We just struck up conversations and spoke for an hour or two. It was really great to see just how different it could be, not only between American lives and Chinese lives, but also within China, how different the rural life can be from the urban life.
Yeah, and we also made a school trip together to Chengdu when we were visiting the Great Wall Park in near Jinshan. And after our trip there, we went about, we drove about 1 hour from the city, and Xu Laoshi actually intentionally chose that place because he wanted us to be exposed to the agricultural part of China, and it's really different because we're all used to seeing the skyscrapers and blinking lights everywhere, and now there was like a very small elementary school, and surrounding that was a very sparse populated houses, and they were farming, and they ate what they farmed, and they told us about, they also provided some insights on their perspective on Chinese policy on farmlands, and it was very interesting because they were getting money to farm because there like a lot of people from the rural parts of China were moving into cities, so they were trying to encourage more people to stay in the farmland and farm. And yeah, that really contrasted and juxtaposed my impression of China that I formed when I was in Beijing.
Thank you guys, thank you very much. You all did an extraordinary job, as always. And thank everyone for being with us for the past 1 hour. As I said, the CAP students is always our most important asset, and everyone here is very proud of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very, very much. I've just been informed that the Eagle has landed. So what I think we're going to do is they're setting up lunch right now, and they should be hopefully ready in about 5 minutes. And so when Mike Zach arrives, maybe what he can do is give his comments while we're having lunch. In the meantime, let me just say a couple of things because they're setting up anyway. And first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here, first of all, because it's Saturday, it's nice out. How many nice Saturdays are left? A whole lot. So that's the first thing. But the other thing, reminds me of my first year in China. It was in December of 1988. I was celebrating Christmas in a small town in Jilin province in the northeast called Siping. And I remember that the mayor, it was such a small town that the mayor of the town invited all the foreign experts. I was visiting some friends. Invited all the foreign experts out to a banquet. And so we were there, and before the banquet there was a dance party. And so I showed up, I was wearing my PLA jacket and my hiking boots and pants that I'd worn for like 2 weeks straight and whatever. And I arrived there, and there are all these people just gliding on the dance floor. Just something out of, maybe your ballroom dance, Strictly Ballroom or what have you. Just kind of, and I'm just thinking, it's 24 couples. And I turned to the cadre next to me and I said, this is really impressive. You guys are something, you can really dance. And he said, no, they're hired professional dancers. Last year we had the same thing and nobody was comfortable going on the dance floor, so we just hired a bunch of people. Anyway, I'm really glad that we don't have to do the same thing here. So I know that there are some people who are going to be coming in and out throughout the day. As they're doing their last minute setup for lunch, why don't you take a few moments, if you'd like, and just chat and mingle, and we'll be, because Mike Zach will be giving his remarks during lunch, I think the afternoon will continue as it is on the program. So I really appreciate your indulgence, and I'll see you all in a few minutes, yes? Oh, yeah, yeah, and there is the photo contest as well, so thanks.